Good evening. Later in the programme, a big shake-up for Dunedin's electricity department. But first, the prison officers' dispute is causing problems in the south. In Dunedin, there's trouble with trials in the High Court, and in Invercargill, a problem over what to do with prisoners. Mark Price reports.
You all set for the night?
Invercargill police have 9 cells, but are allowed to hold only 3 of the prisoners who should more properly be held at Invercargill Prison. Like all the country's prisons, those in Invercargill and Dunedin are affected by the prison officers' dispute with the government over superannuation. Officers are not accepting new prisoners, and a limit's been reached in Invercargill's only alternative, the police cells.
I'm not happy about the situation at all, but it is the only contingency that we can provide, and it is only a short-term solution. I don't consider in any way that our facilities are adequate for fair treatment of the prisoners, and nor do I find it satisfactory for persons to be employed specially to have to do that, but I'm left with no option.
Meanwhile, in Dunedin, proceedings in the High Court have ground to a halt. Members of the public on jury duty have been coming and going for 3 days without having completed a single case. A trial which began on Monday morning was adjourned twice and has now been abandoned. It's understood the judge wanted a prison officer to sit with the accused during the case, and one wasn't available. The accused has been remanded for a new trial in a week. Another case was called, but the defendant there didn't turn up, so the court has a warrant out for him while jurors head for home.
Today we haven't been able to be picked for a jury because there's been nobody to try.
How does everybody on the jury panel feel about the prison?
Part of life, I suppose. It's one of those things.
While Invercargill and other centres are finding their police cells are filling up, Dunedin's remain empty. No one's been sentenced to prison or been remanded in custody.
The Meatworkers Union is predicting the strike at 9 South Island Alliance freezing works will continue until at least the end of Easter. A couple of thousand meat workers attended a shed meeting in Invercargill this morning, and their union says there was strong support for continued action. Kim Haring reports.
For the workers of Ocean Beach, Makarewa and Lawnville, it's the 3rd week they've been out, and for many, the 3rd week without wages.
We haven't got any money, you see, and there's nothing to do about it, you know. You just got to do the best you can.
If you live in a flat or anything like that, you're pretty well shagged now, aren't you?
We just sort of used our last money yesterday, actually, to buy groceries, so that's all.
Do you want them to go back to work?
Oh, well, they've got to fight for what they believe in, so...
The meeting was purely to bring the workers up to date, although both sides in the dispute admit little or nothing is happening to resolve the issue. Meat workers won't go back to work until they have a settled redundancy agreement with the Alliance Group, and Alliance says it won't negotiate while there's a strike. Today's meeting was to be an indicator of the resolve of workers who are now beginning to worry about paying their bills.
They're very strong on the thing, and they just want things sorted out for the future. They're sick and tired of the way the industry is and how they've been treated. They just want something sorted out so they know exactly where they are for the future. Whether they've got a job or whether they haven't got a job, they just want to know.
The union says if the workers weren't supportive, they would have expected to hear that today. Now they're looking at possible food relief, and social events are being organised to raise funds.
There was an unexpected boost today to the fight to save one of New Zealand's rarest birds, the kakapo. Only 43 kakapo are known still to survive in New Zealand. Most have been transferred to island sanctuaries in a bid to save the species. Today, Comelco announced it would back that effort with $1 million donation. The sponsorship, which will include money from aluminium can recycling, will be spent over 6 years. Dunedin's city's gas department's been quick to jump to the defence of domestic gas installations. Although it's been suggested firefighters could be caught unawares by newly installed LPG cylinders, the gas department says used properly they're as safe as houses. Michael Lynch reports.
Using LPG is easy, according to Sinclair Jones, the Dunedin councillor running the local gas department. He does have a vested interest, mind, as the council's promoting a whole new range of LPG appliances. They and the cylinders round the back of the house will replace the smelly old gas stoves of yesteryear. And by the end of the year, the council hopes to have 900 consumers connected and the old gasworks tidied up. And any worries about things that go bang in the night, he says, are quite unfounded.
There is a fear of this, but the chances of that happening are very remote. In a fire, there is a release valve that does release the gas. They are low pressure gas cylinders.
Yeah.
They're not high pressure like CNG at all.
So you're saying there's really nothing to worry about with these cylinders in the houses?
No, there's certainly nothing more to worry about than there would be with the petrol in the car tank. In fact, they're probably a whole lot safer than petrol in the car tank that's sitting in the garage under the house.
And the fire service chief in Dunedin says used properly, LPG presents no worries to householders.
Dunedin's electricity department is heading into its biggest shake-up in 80 years. A series of complicated financial moves is aimed at safeguarding the Waipori dams for Dunedin's future. But Kim Haring reports there's concern about how much this will cost the consumer.
Early this century, the city bought the Waipori Falls Power Company for about £30,000. That proved to be a smart move. The system expanded, giving Dunedin people access to lower-cost power and paying big dividends to the city. But there's been a recent fear the government would swoop on the Waipori asset, confiscating it.
Deregulation of the electrical industry has been proposed for some time, and there was every expectation it could come as soon as the recent economic package. In the event it didn't come, but it's a very active thing in government circles. It's been the subject of many reports, including Treasury reports which have been leaked. And of course the power boards, as distinct from the City Council, didn't have elections last year.
To avoid confiscation, the council has transferred the Waipori asset, worth roughly $60 million, to a council-owned company. This company will actually generate the electricity, but it will be distributed by a municipal electricity department. For electricity consumers, there is no doubt the end of this chain means higher power bills. And a former general manager of the department reckons the rise will be closer to 20 than the 7% increase the council predicts.
My main concern is the fact that the electricity department has virtually got to buy back the value of Waipori. And this in turn will mean that I believe that the tariffs would go up by probably 22% over the next 2 or 3 years, which I don't think the Dunedin citizen generally is aware of the impact of that move by the city.
Well, these predictions can be made. The price of electricity is going to go up right throughout New Zealand. Nobody knows the extent of that, and this will come about because of the deregulation of the industry. Now, by taking on debt, which is a normal commercial thing to do, the cost of servicing that debt will put about 7.2% onto the price of power from Waipori to the distribution company. Any other increases over and beyond that are conjecture.
At the end of the transaction, the new company has a debt of $28 million, and the City Council has a fresh $28 million.
The council has $28 million sitting earning interest in the bank, which can be used to reduce city debt. If that, which is the favoured aspect at the moment, if that path is followed, that is equivalent to a rate reduction of between $5 to $9 million a year.
But Ray Howes looks at it another way.
The citizens of Dunedin and Mosgiel and Port Chalmers have invested money or put money into the electricity department, and with good management that has been built up to have a value of today's amount of $120 million, which is the Waipori and the distribution side. And really the citizens have, or the electricity customers have really met that cost, and now they're being asked to pay for it all over again.
The electricity distribution company should be set up in a few months, when the council may have a better idea of what power prices will be.
That's the programme tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Good night.